Hi guys, so today we're going to touch on a video on the 530 Elite, where it fits in our range, and of course what we have here is we have a standard 530 Elite, we have a hybrid 530 Elite, and we have a carbon 530 Elite. So these three kayaks were manufactured for some customers in Australia. 530 full carbon is for a customer, this one is also for a specific customer, and this will be a stock kayak that's heading off to Australia. But I wanted, while we had each of the models next to each other, I wanted to just run through it, the differences in them, how we make them, and of course, a little bit more about the 530 Elite. So to touch on first, the 530 Elite, where does it fit into our range? I think there's been a little bit of confusion. Some guys say it replaces the 525, and to be honest, in no way does it replace the 525, especially when you start to compare the 530 Elite with our new 2026 model 525. The 2026 525 has a much lower seat than the 530, so the 530 you sit very high. Maybe more of a surf ski paddler might be used to sitting slightly higher, might feel more comfortable. Some guys like that sort of feel. The 530 also has less of a rocker than the 525. So there are some differences between the two. The one definitely doesn't replace the other. And if you're used to a wide and stable ski and you like stability, you're not going to go and jump on a 530 Elite for the stability. It's not the stability. Don't be fooled. A 530 is stable, but now we're talking about and comparing it to the other kayaks in our range. So we're not going to replace another kayak. It just fits into its own little spot. Okay. So here we have a standard 530 Elite. Standard 530 Elite now is made exactly the same way we make all our other kayaks. So the same way we make a Pro Fisher. All the glassing, all the reinforcing, all the internal hatches, everything is made the same way we make a Pro Fisher. So vacuum mold the hull, vacuum mold the deck, boxes, live well box, dry box, everything is all made the same way as we make a Pro Fisher. Even the setup on the standard 530. So we've gone to the soft neoprene handles for the 530, standard handles. So if you were ordering a Pro Fisher 525, for example, all the fittings, the way it's manufactured, everything on this would be seen as a standard. Standard 530 now, out of the mold, is around about 27 kgs, 27, depending on your colors. You remember you've got to take into account of colors and lay up extra rod holders, fish finders, things like that, so we have to use it as a guide. So this is about 27 kilo, much the same as a standard 525, bearing in mind they're both the same length. Okay, then we move across to the 530 hybrid. What is the hybrid? Okay, so the hybrid, the top deck is made exactly the same way as we make the top deck of a standard kayak. Okay, so the top deck is the same. The fish box, the live well box, the dry box, made the same way we would make a standard boat. Okay, so that construction is the same. Point of difference is the hull, or the bottom of the kayak. The hull of the kayak is now carbon sandwich hull. So we take out some of the glass, we put in some carbon, it stiffens the boat up, reduces the weight. But remember, because we're vacuum molding here and we're making a boat the same way, we can't lose weight by vacuuming or changing things. For us, it's just replacing materials. So in this case, you replace a little bit of carbon in the hull, reduces the weight of the boat just by a little bit of weight in the hull, often only around about a kg and a half, and then you get your complete hybrid. So it's not just the weight saving, but it's also to do with the rigidity of the kayak and the performance and the feel of the kayak, where your advantage comes from in a hybrid. But there you see. So the point of difference is a little bit of weight, but not as massive as some people might think. So here's your hybrid Elite, 25 and a half, 26, depending on, once again, what fittings you put on it. That's where the hybrid falls into, and that's the sort of completed weight of the hybrid now. Okay, then we move over to the carbon. The carbon, of course, different animal altogether. Everything in this kayak is manufactured out of carbon. The hull is carbon, the deck is carbon. If you look inside your live well, if you look inside your fish hatch, full vacuum molded carbon Kevlar live well, full vacuum molded carbon Kevlar fish box, and then the same would be said about the dry hatch. Also carbon or carbon Kevlar, depending on what we feel comfortable building the dry box out of. Live well and the fish box definitely out of carbon Kevlar. The Kevlar gives it a little bit more strength on the corners, which is what we like in the fish box and the live well. Dry box, straight carbon sometimes carbon Kevlar. We're just working it as we feel on the boat. So this boat, made in the same processes, made the same gel coats. The difference is in the materials. So in this case, we'd take out some glass, we'd add some carbon fiber, we'd add some carbon Kevlar in the hatches, add some carbon in the hull. Also, once again, it doesn't just make a whole lot of weight disappear, because we're trying to always make a fishing kayak lightweight. You know, what we can say is this boat, for example, can come out of the mold without your fittings, what we call a naked kayak. We can get it out of the mold, trim the flanges and everything before we do the tape edge. We can get it down to, let's say, 20 kilos. Problem is, your fittings on a fishing kayak weigh 4.5 to 5 kilograms. That's right, 4.5 to 5 kilograms. So 4.5, one rod holder fitted on a kayak, 600-700 grams. You know, 4 rod holders, 2.5 kilos. So, you know, guys, that's where your differences come. The finished weight on a full carbon Elite like this, once again, loses another kg and a half. You start getting down to 24.5 kilos. We've tried to go lighter, don't feel comfortable going lighter for various reasons. We've bulked up, we've put reinforcing in different places. We found it's just better. It's just things that I feel more comfortable with doing on a fishing kayak. So what you want to get out of a fishing kayak, all the reinforcing, all the carbon, all the everything is huge bonus in the full carbon boat. The rigidity on this kayak is incredible. So it's super rigid. It sits a little bit more buoyant in the water. The reaction time when you paddle is just a bit better. So the performance in terms of this full carbon kayak is your biggest plus. Your weight saving, yes, you do get a bit of weight saving, but it's not something you're not going to go to a full carbon kayak the way we manufacture a kayak, purely for a weight saving. So you're going to have to look at all the advantages of the different things that we do to make it all around a much, much better kayak. So yeah, here it is, 530 Carbon Elite. This one's headed off to a guy, Andrew, in Australia. Super stoked with it. It's so nice. It's just everything about this has come out so good for us. Spent a lot of time, a lot of hours on trying to improve a lot of little things. The 530 Elite Hybrid. Also heading off to Oz to a good old friend of mine by the name of Sean Ogborn, Ochis. This is his boat. And then we have the standard 530 Elite. It's also heading over. That'll be a stock boat available. But yeah, these are the 2026 range of 530 Elite kayaks. Standard, hybrid, carbon. I hope I've covered everything. I'm sure there'll be some questions. Just remember, give the video a like, subscribe to the channel, maybe post some comments, ask some questions. There's always something that maybe I missed or didn't touch upon. You know, the Elite 530 has all the fittings, all the features of all the kayaks, different shape, different performance. But yeah, there we go. Thank you.